Hello, welcome to my sixth walkie-talkie. What a lovely day, the sun's just come out. As soon as that sun comes out, it's really blessed, it's nice and warm on the skin. How amazing is that? I was reflecting on a word this morning in my prayer time, the word foundation. Now, just walking down here, as you know, each day walking down by the river, that river it is the River Colne, and it goes all the way to Colchester Castle Park. And that brought me to think about a time where, actually not that long ago, where Scout and I went to enjoy one of their tours there. And they took us down into the vaults underneath the castle, which very much looked like dungeons. But they weren't dungeons, they were actually the original foundations that were laid there. And I would say, actually, history tells us that the foundations of Colchester Castle have endured quite a bit. We know that they were originally built to house the Temple Claudius by the Romans, which was unfortunately torn down by and burnt down by a woman called Queen Boudica. You can go and read about her. And then it was in the 11th century, the King William I built on top of that foundation a Norman castle, which is what you see part of today. And we know that on top of that foundation there's lots of things happened in that castle. So there's been a siege in the 12th, 13th century. It's been used as dungeons. It's been used as an interrogation room for Matthew Hopkins, remember where he was interrogating the witches. It's been used in World War II for an air raid shelter where 150 people would have been crammed in there hiding away from the bombs. But it was actually in the 17th century that this man, this ironmonger named John Wheeler, was commissioned to tear down Colchester Castle to sell the materials for his own profits. And unfortunately he started to blow up the towers and blow up the inside with gunpowder and started to use the materials for the town. And he managed to blast his way, probably with hammer and chisel, through 30 feet thick walls into the foundation. It was there he found the sand underneath the vaults, and he took all the sand out. Now, there's a journal in a 1920 journal by another man named Wheeler, who said when he took the sand out, it was revealed that there was a partition in the shape of a cross that held up the vaults. It's my cue. And I thought that was amazing, that the cross was there holding up these vaults. And I thought, isn't that true of Christ? He is our foundation, and it's through the cross where our faith is built. We know in 1 Corinthians 3 it says that we should lay no other foundation but that of Jesus Christ. And then it talks about others laying different foundations, wood, hay or stubble, and that it would eventually be tested by fire. So I'd ask you, where are you building your foundation? It also brought me to another passage in Matthew. It's actually the end part of the Sermon on the Mount. I think it's Matthew chapter 5, 6 and 7, where Jesus summarizes his teaching. He says, all those who hear these words of mine and put them into practice be like building your house on a rock. So he says, when the storms come, the rain comes, the floods rise, your house is still going to stand because it was built on the rock. And obviously he's referring to him and his sayings, his teachings. But then he said, you know, if you don't do these things, you don't put your trust in me, if you don't adhere to my teachings, it's like building your house on a sand. You know, when the storms come, the rain and the floods rise, you know, great is going to be the fall of your house. And I was just looking for sand earlier and I couldn't find it because you do get some sediment that the river lays here. And if you put your foot in there, you would start to sink. You certainly wouldn't build anything on them because as soon as that water rises, it would fall down. And then I thought about my testimony, part of my testimony. My life, I spent most of my life trying to build my house on the sand. You know, very early on in life I was focused on music, wanting to be famous. That didn't really work out well for me. Then I put all my efforts into trying to build up a business so that I could have loads of money, have the biggest house, the nicest car that I wanted. That didn't really work out well for me. And it wasn't until I gave my life to Jesus and put my trust in him and his teaching that my life now is built firmly on the rock of Christ. And it is a solid foundation. Not only in this life do I have that promise, but also in the next. So my life is not built on wood or stubble or hay. My life is built on the rock of Jesus Christ. And I know where I stand, and I have confidence in that. So I'd ask you that. Where are you building your foundation? Obviously that foundation of Colchester Castle has lasted for a millennia or 2 millennia. And in the same way, we're putting a foundation down that's going to last us on into eternity. So where are you building your foundation? Will you build your foundation on Christ alone? That's what I was just going to ask you today. Well, thank you so much for listening. And I've already gone about 6 minutes. Oh, it's one of the shortest ones I've done so far. That's all right. And don't forget to meet us on prayer at Zoom Room at 7 tonight. But also, for those who are part of our church, we're doing a church meeting at 7:30. All on Zoom Room. So we hope that you can join us. Anyway, be blessed and be a blessing.